Hello my friends, this is James Deegan from James Deegan Healing. In this video I'm going to speak about self-sabotage. Why do we self-sabotage? Where does self-sabotage come from? And what do you need to do to move forward to remove these barriers and blocks that you have placed upon yourself? So as adults, we invest our time and our energy into many different areas. A lot of these areas is our relationships, our careers, our friendships, our family life, mortgages, hobbies, whatever it is, we invest a lot of ourselves into these different areas of our lives that usually mean a lot to us. And these are the areas of our lives that we want to do well, we want them to be fulfilled, and we want them to be balanced. But we find that in certain areas we can actually do really, really well. And in other areas, it's not to say that we fail, but we just don't do as good. And a lot of the time for people with childhood trauma, mostly where this self-sabotage shows up is in their romantic relationships. A lot of it also can happen in their careers and jobs. And also, self-sabotaging is a mechanism that was created from our childhoods. And it's a mechanism that is actually, interesting enough, trying to keep us safe. When I say trying to keep us safe, you'd say, how could sabotage in my own life be trying to keep me safe? It's actually locking me in and it's blocking everything out. When you self-sabotage, what are you actually really doing? You're sabotaging yourself in a situation which is almost like a form of damage control. So an example is somebody, say, in relationships. Just say you've met somebody who's really good for you, who's really nice, who's the very opposite of possibly the people who raised you, full of connection, wants you to do really well in life. And you can see that this person is really good for you. And this happens with a lot of people, especially women, who were raised in a dynamic where their masculine energy, their father wasn't a good protector, he wasn't a good source of safety, he wasn't a good source of connection, and he may have been quite abusive to just say to possibly other siblings, to mom, to them. And when a person, even a male, is raised in an environment where it's very chaotic, when you meet a man, if you're a woman, and this person is very quiet, very reserved, there's not a whole lot going on for them. A lot of people actually say that this person is just too boring for me. But what's really going on there? But what are you really looking for when you get into a relationship, when you came from a background of madness? You're really looking for peace. You're looking for safety. You're looking for protection. You're looking for connection. You're looking for comfort. And yet this person may be able to offer you all of those things, but yet you basically end up possibly leaving the relationship, cheating on him, going back to an ex-abusive partner. And this, I see this so much with clients. And the reason I use women as an example is because it's a lot of the time it's women in these situations where they will say, he's just too boring, he's just too quiet. What's really going on is that you've found someone who can offer you everything that your parents possibly never gave to you, and you may not feel that you deserve this person. You may feel like that you don't deserve to have a peaceful, love and harmonious relationship that's filled with connection and comfort. And it's all based on the primary relationship that you had with your parents. But you have to understand something. The first 6, 7 years of your life, you have been conditioned to basically see the world in a specific way. You've been conditioned to understand that this is how relationships work. This is how life is. And through the interactions of the everyday experiences with your parents, how they were with you, how they received you, how they rejected you, how they emotionally and mentally possibly abandoned you, how they were physical with you. And then there's other traumas that happen in the environment. There's sexual abuse, there's a lot of physical abuse, there's all these other areas that can really affect us ourselves. But the main thing is, in those primary years, you are developing. Your self-image about yourself is developing. Your belief system about the world is developing. And parents, when you were very small, they had an opportunity to either create this self-image for you where you would have had this belief that you are loved, you are full of connection, you are safe, you are protected, you are very important, and you were enough. And if that wasn't your experience, or some of that was let out or left out, you're going to feel like there's something wrong with you. And when we feel there's something wrong with us, and when we feel that, we're not enough and we're not really important, like where does a child get those ideas? Like a 2-year-old just doesn't have that thought process. A 4-year-old doesn't have that thought process. You don't come out of the womb thinking like, I'm not enough, I'm not important. You truly believe you are. But if the people who's raising you aren't giving you that love and the connection that you need, if they're not filling up your emotional jar the way you need that to be fulfilled, to feel like, you are enough and important, later on in life, you're going to meet people who could be very abusive to you, and you'll feel that this is what you deserve. And if you came from a lot of trauma, you will almost believe that this is normal because it's what you were raised in. And then when you meet somebody else who is good for you, you'll sabotage that because you don't feel like you deserve that connection. But this is why people stay in relationships that hurt them. You may have a friend, or you may be able to reflect on your own journey, or you may be somebody who's currently in an abusive relationship that's very toxic and it's hurtful, but yet you can't leave it. You keep going back to this person. Why? Because you have a belief about yourself that this is what I'm worth. Now, where did you get that belief? That belief is from the environment you were raised in. Now, that's an example of how self-sabotage shows up for in relationships. I remember when I would meet girls, they were really nice people. They really wanted me to do well. They wanted the best for me. They just wanted me to love them. But they had aligned with somebody who was very emotionally disconnected. I didn't like myself. And in the beginning, I would have liked them, and then I would have projected all my unhappiness onto them. But yeah, they stuck around. A lot of them wanted to try and save me, but what they were actually really looking for was for me to validate them, to see them, to connect to them. A lot of the time, the way their father didn't. And this is how this game is set up. You're going to always drag in an energy to you, or draw in an energy to you that is going to mirror back to you what you need to heal within yourself. So within this dynamic with these girls, I would have found myself cheating, having little to no interest when they wanted to be very full of connection with me. This is later on into the relationship, and they wanted, to nurture the relationship. I was absolutely terrified of their energy, for the fact that my mum really wounded me when I was a kid. She didn't do it on purpose, but she really did wound me. My inner child had a lot of wounds with her and my father, a lot of mental wounds, emotional wounds, physical and spiritual. A lot of people who self-sabotage have a very negative belief system. They believe things like, I'm not enough, I'm not important, nothing ever works out for me. Because if their parents were very critical of them, they second guess everything that they're doing, and they are terrified of failure. Because again, just examples, as a child, when a child is developing, everything is new to a child. Children learn and fail all the time. They don't fail, they just keep learning. But as a child, when you're growing and developing and you're making mistakes, if your parents are very critical of that and they keep doing that, and that's the relationship they build with you, they're always criticizing you, always judging you, telling you you're this, telling you you're that, telling you you're doing things wrong, you're going to not trust your own judgment, and it's going to create this belief in yourself that you are stupid, that your own inner guidance can't be trusted. And because you're so devoted and dependent on these people to nurture you, you've so much respect for them, you literally take everything they say as gospel and you make it your own. A lot of us who have self-sabotage really lack empathy and compassion towards ourselves. And again, one of the main reasons is because when we were being raised, the people who were raising us didn't show us a lot of compassion and empathy. And if you just go back to what I said, when you're making mistakes, when you're falling over, you're getting back up, when you're coloring a specific way, whatever it is that you're doing, if your parents didn't approve of this and they were fairly harsh and judgmental of your behavior and of just your little state of being, if these people didn't show you that compassion, you're not really going to have that compassion and empathy towards yourself as an adult. And what this does is it creates this really low self-esteem, this low self-worth, this very negative belief system. And we operate from our belief systems. Every act of human behavior, how you behave, is always in alignment with what you believe to be true about yourself. So everybody has a subconscious. Within your subconscious, you have a self-image. That self-image was created out of the first 6-7 years of your life. And this is crucial to understand, because once you understand this, you're going to really understand yourself and others. So if you were to reflect on your childhood and go through the relationship that you had with your caregivers or the people who raised you, what was your belief system about yourself? What sort of person do you believe you became as a result of that environment? Did that environment really promote your development, or did it hinder it? Do you feel like a lot of love for yourself, or do you feel a lack of love? Do you feel very connected to yourself or disconnected? Because if you feel disconnected, you don't have a lot of self-respect, you don't have a lot of self-love, you have very poor boundaries, you don't have a lot of compassion or empathy towards yourself, that's all childhood stuff. That's all out of the relationship with the parents. And when a child goes through that dynamic, your self-image is created. And that's the image that you have of yourself at your core. And that self-image is what dictates your life. It's what controls your life. And you will always act out of alignment with that self-image. So that's why I use the example of somebody who is in a romantic relationship. You know, you could meet somebody who's very nice, very good for them. And in the beginning, you may go along for the ride with it and feel like, you know, this is really great. And then your self-image will kick in and it'll be like, you know, you don't deserve this. This is not who you are. This is not what you're used to. And all these things happen in the background. That's why it's called subconscious. It's below your awareness. You don't even realize it's happening. And before you know it, you're unhappy in the relationship. You're projecting onto the relationship. You're possibly looking at somebody else. You're already, you know, 1 foot out the door, and you're criticizing and judging everything this person is saying, and you're getting the ick with them almost because of how, like, you know, soft they may be. A lot of it is down to what's happening in your life is not reflecting what you believe to be true about yourself, and you will only accept and act out what you believe is true and what's in alignment with the image that you have for yourself. One of the core reasons we self-sabotage is because our inner child is still wounded. The inner child still has these blocks and barriers. The inner child is still in fear. The inner child is the one who's trapped within the shadow of ourselves. And it's the inner child that we need to set free. Like, if you look at it like this, if your inner child did not experience a lot of love and compassion and connection in the environment that you were raised in, the people who are meant to promote you, the people who are meant to be, you know, your number one fan, if they weren't that, what makes you think that you're going to feel deserving of a loving relationship when you're older? If you were raised in an environment that's very critical of you, very harsh, always judged your efforts, and therefore you ended up becoming very self-critical, you know, when you're moving towards a specific career or decision in your life that could really help you, what's going to make you think that you're making the right choices? Because your mum's or dad's voice is always going to be in the back of your mind. That judgment is always going to be there. And the inner child is terrified. He or she is so full of fear. And what happens is this self-sabotage, damage control system kicks in, and that's really what it is. You know, in a relationship, if you're with somebody who's really good for you and you feel that like they could possibly hurt you if if you let them in, or if an opportunity comes your way and it could be really good for you, but you fear failure so much, if you sabotage the situation or the relationship, it's almost like you're in full control. You're taking damage control of what's going on. Therefore, you're almost like it's protecting yourself, but it's really not. It's protecting the inner child, but it's also blocking the adult. Someone actually reached out to me on Instagram and they proposed this question to me about self-sabotage, and within this person's life it's got to do with food, you know, using food as a comfort. And it's like, why does anybody use anything as a comfort? It's like, you know, why do we use alcohol, sex, drugs? Why do people take substances like heroin? You know, why are we addicted to certain behaviors or whatever it is with food? Like, what does the food or these things do for us? And that's what you need to ask yourself. You know, what, not why am I doing it? What is it doing for me? Because I guarantee you, when you're in the act of it, it's probably making you feel safe. It's making you feel connected. Even though it's hurting you, it's actually fulfilling an aspect of you that's in a lot of fear. And what you don't need to be doing if you are somebody who self-sabotages is shaming yourself, because that's what you would have done as a little girl, and that's possibly what you would have received from those around you, was a lot of shame, a lot of judgment. And that's what we tend to do when we, you know, we screw up a relationship, or we miss a job opportunity, or if we're engaged in a relationship or a behavior that we know is hurting us and it doesn't serve us, we usually shame ourselves. And what you really need to do is actually heal the shame. You need to heal that guilt. You need to heal the inner child, because he or she is the one who's holding on to these wounds. And unless you actually heal them and do the inner deep healing work, you're going to keep sabotaging, and you're going to keep keeping yourself locked into a barrier that you're actually creating around yourself. And what I will say is, I used to be somebody who was amazing at self-sabotaging. Everything I put my hands to, I sabotaged. Even good opportunities, the possibility of an amazing relationship, sabotage, wiped it all out. And a lot of it was damage control. A lot of it is down to, you know, I didn't feel deserving. You know, if my mum couldn't give me what I needed as a little boy, if she couldn't protect me and my father didn't protect me, what's going to make me think that I deserve a healthy, loving relationship? It's just not going to happen. And that's the situation for most people all around the world. I hope this video offered you some insight into your own behavior, your own thought process. Feel free again to leave your opinion in the comment section. Feel free to add stuff in. And please again like the video, support the channel, and please even feel free to share the video as well, because it's such an important topic and it's something that's affecting almost all of us. Thank you, my friends, for tuning in, and take care.